for an hour, and then I'll be sick for 5, and then I'll be stupid weak, like can't even get up type stuff.
Hmm. That is weird.
Yeah, but I had a fever for like 1 day, and then I broke it. The highest I got was like 99.9, and then um, we just broke, and ever since then I've just been chilling.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad.
Now, what about yourself? How you been, buddy?
Good. Just working. We did have a COVID scare, but we ended up testing negative. So
I feel that. We're just gonna wait for a couple people to get on, man. We haven't been live in a fat minute, Cody. It's been almost like
yeah, no. How often do you go live by yourself?
I haven't been live since the last time we went on, bro.
Oh, really? Okay.
Just waiting. Shout out to Topo Chico. Hopefully one day I'll be rocking them on the brand. Yo, screenshot that. What's going on? They already are showing up in the chat.
How do I pull up the chat on mine?
It should be where you
What
could
did
click.
I?
Oh,
Is that it? I see the new comments will display here, but
yeah, that's what I'm trying to see too.
okay, I see it now.
So, Davis Mills has been a fun topic the last couple days.
Oh
And
my god.
what's going on, Cody?
No, it's been like a week that people just been going off about him.
As much as I wanted to hype him up and say that he had a good 3 games, which he did, against the 49ers, dude, just look lost out there. Finally goes against a top 5 defense. That offensive line was just getting trashed. We saw similarities of what the Houston Texans are, a team that could not adjust in the second half. You're up 7-3 at at halftime, and then Tim Kelly does what Tim Kelly does, and then it was just a rough day for Davis Mills, from there on in.
Yeah, man. The one thing I'll point out, and Jer, if you don't follow Jer on Twitter, go give him a follow. But he pointed out, man, that Mills splits from when he's playing at home, when he's on the road, are very different. And he's played well at home, not good on the road, which that makes sense for a rookie quarterback. So if y'all were going are expecting him to go in and light it up, this week, we were really just fooling ourselves because it's just not what he's going to do. He's a developmental third round rookie, like I keep saying. He's not going to be Deshaun Watson right away. I mean, not saying he will be Deshaun Watson at any point, but I tweeted out today that people, I think people got spoiled by Deshaun Watson's rookie year because he went off the way he did, and now they're just kind of expecting that other rookies are supposed to look like that, and that's just not how it is.
I mean, I totally agree. It's kind of hard. You're going from like I said, a guy who makes your jaw drop every single week to from going from that to Davis Mills, and I'm I was on the board of saying I still think he should be a for sure starter for next season. I think he has earned that. But I also think that there needs to be another quarterback potentially brought in so he could battle with. I don't think after a game like the 49ers that he should just, have the reins to himself off for next year.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Bring in some sort of competition. Don't I don't think you just hand anyone the job unless they're like, Patrick Mahomes,
Deshaun.
Aaron Rodgers type. But I'm completely fine with them bringing in a veteran. I don't think they should draft someone, but bringing in a veteran to compete is I'm completely fine with that.
And the sad part is that he wasn't having a bad game in the first half. I mean, 104 yards, 1 touchdown. I think it was 13 of 17, right? Very proficient, and then Tim Kelly happened, man. I Tim Kelly just should not even be in any NFL organization whatsoever, and kind of adds into why I'm very excited about Davis Mills, right? If he could go through horrible freaking TK, this offensive line, just imagine what Nick Caserio could do.
Yeah, man, I didn't care for the Kelly when we retained him. I guess I
I
kind
didn't
of
either.
understood why we did it when we were still trying to keep Watson, but I didn't really like it. He just there's too much of Bob in him from what we saw, which makes sense because that's all he's been under really. So yeah, I completely he's got to go after this season's up.
How you feel about it was said that David Culley will probably be, brought back for next year. Like what were your initial thoughts on that?
I'm impartial either way. I don't. It doesn't really bother me if he gets another year or not. Like I don't feel any certain way about it. If he gets another year, that's cool. If he's gone, that's cool. I don't think he's. I mean, he's like what? He's a first time head coach at 60 whatever years old. He's not going to be the long term option anyway. So we're going to be rebuilding for a couple of years. It is what it is at this point.
Has any like potential head coach like stood out to you? I think for me so far it's been Matt Eberflus. I'm not sure if it's been anyone for you.
I haven't been on it as much this season as I was last season. Until we know someone is, or Coley is gone. If that is the case, then I'm not gonna go looking at potential head coaches. Nothing stood out to me this year really.
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I don't like Cully at all. I think the guy should be gone. This game against the 49ers was another display of him not knowing how to head coach. You know, you should have went for it on your 40-yard line. There's no if and uts about it, and then you punt it away, and then you try to go for it. Like later down, it just doesn't make sense. Um, I think if you keep him, it's just probably just a tank again. I guess I don't really see David Culley bringing any type of thing to the Houston Texans because he hasn't. Besides, making people laugh.
Yeah, I don't mind being, people aren't gonna like me saying this, but I don't mind not necessarily tank. I don't think they would be tanking, but I just with a bunch of rookies, I think you still just aren't gonna be ready to win a lot of games like that. So I don't mind having another high pick and trying to actually rebuild this team. But like I said earlier, I'm impartial on Coley at this point. He's not the long term option for me, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I think this whole season as a whole has been impartial, man. You know, we've really. I didn't think it was gonna get this bad to the point where we're just like, man, like we're looking for Davis Mills to be the answer. That's how bad it is. For Houston Texans fans, we're looking at every type of straw to grasp. That's why a lot of people I say like hate the guy and then love the guy.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I will say is we won the same amount of games last year without, and we had Deshaun Watson last year. I mean, it could be worse. It could be the Jaguars right now.
Well, speaking of the Jaguars, they're interviewing
Yeah,
interviewing Billy O'Brien. How do you feel about that, dude? That's kind of funny.
I, you know, I don't know, man. I mean, I guess
Division
if
champs,
you
Cody, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Doesn't
I know.
matter.
I don't even know how to react to that. I hope they do it. It would be hilarious. He's not gonna be their savior or whatever they're looking for, so I'm not really sure what the thought process there. I guess just to get kind of back on track and then maybe look for someone else, but I don't know.
Comes into Houston week 1 against Jacksonville. He runs the ball first down. Oh my God, that if Bill O'Brien had ever returns to NRG in a head coaching capacity, I don't know how that's gonna be from from
Dude,
him
what would
cursing out the you suck too motherfucker to just consistently just
what would be crazy to me, or would take me off the most, is if he goes somewhere else in the NFL and then just completely changes the way he coaches, or completely changes the system. Something we've been asking him to do for the 6 years he was here. Not be so stubborn. That would really take me off.
I mean like I would expect it though. I mean, like I
Oh,
said,
I mean, I'm not saying I don't,
everyone
but I
who has
mean,
that, who leaves
Bill
Houston.
Belichick.
I mean, look what Andre Roberts just did yesterday, and then
Yeah.
DeAndre Carter, what he's doing. Man, dude. Hopefully, we can bring back a dozen eggs. So far this season, it's been a wash. Right, 4-11. Uh, what do you think are the only few like bright spots for this team so far?
Um, You know, somebody on my but David Mills, he really shouldn't even be playing now. The fact that he is and playing at a decent enough level. I mean, I'm obviously not winning games. I wasn't expecting to win games, no matter who was the quarterback, and that's really the problem. But I think he's impressed in my opinion, considering what he has to work with on offense, what he has to work with as a scheme or from a coordinator. The fact that he even competed against like the Patriots and then the Chargers or beat the Chargers. I think that's good. You have Jonathan Grenard who came on. He's kind of slowed down since I think he got COVID, right?
Yeah,
So he kind of slowed down, but he had that stretch of games where what was it like 7 straight games with a sack or
it was
six
sad. Yeah, he
straight
was on
games?
pace for
Yeah,
like 14, 15 until COVID happened.
yeah. So Jonathan Grenard's another one. Obviously Brandon Cooks. I gotta just say I was very wrong about when we acquired Brandon Cooks. I tweeted that out today too. His last season in LA and his concussion stuff had me very skeptical when we acquired him, but he's been awesome for the past 2 years. Um, who? What else? I like that the rookies, are getting some run. That's something I felt like we never really saw with O'Brien.
We never
Uh,
saw it with O'Brien,
yeah,
besides Deshaun Watson.
right, exactly. So the rookies getting some run. Roy Lopez doing his thing in the middle of the line. Um, Other than that, maybe that who is that the slot corner? I'm having trouble
Tavia
remembering.
Thomas.
Yeah. Him. He's been solid. So there's been some things, but I had a max of us winning 4 games this season,
Hmm.
which we've hit. So I guess it was kind of above my standards. So they've done solid.
You see, that's a good take, and that was I was literally about to ask you, right? So, regardless of if we lose next week, which is going to be a tough game because Tennessee, I think, is going to try to play all their starters, right? Um, I mean, like they're the expectations for the Houston Texans were we're going to win one game, right? Now you have four. You can maybe argue that as much as I dislike David Culley, sometimes he has these guys ready to play. Sometimes this team looks ready to play, right? You talk about the game against the Patriots, he messed it up. We just saw the game against the Chargers. You know, I think as far as like the bright spots for me, I would just have to say the rookies from Davis Mills, Nico Collins, Brevin Jordan, Garrett Wallow, even Roy Lopez. They've all had games where they've impacted. I want to see more of Garrett Wallow. Um, this probably I don't know if it's a hot take or something. I mean I wouldn't mind letting Crew J Hill walk for Garrett Wallow. I feel like there might be the same type of player in terms of speed, but number 51 gives you that extra little pop. But Davis Mills, like I said, I am very excited about him. His story is only going to get better as it goes on. I mean, if he's not the guy, he's not the guy. He's a third round pick. But if he is, hey, I mean, you got a potential starter. And that's what, like I said, I don't think fans realize is he's a third round pick. Only played 14 games in college. Didn't really play good in any of those games in college. You drafted him this year, so you didn't have to take him next year. That was the whole stigma that Nick Caserio said. So, I mean, speaking of Nick Caserio, man, shout out to him. He came in a situation, no cap space, no draft picks, and it's the players that you could build upon in the future. I think is what excites me the most. Because I wouldn't give a damn if Tyrod Taylor wins games, but if Davis Mills does, come on. I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like it was probably the worst situation to take over that we've seen in a while. Like you said, crappy cap situation with guys with Bob signing guys like Randall Cobb, shit like that, and then you have
Kaimi.
no picks. So what considering what he's been able to do, you have some moves people don't agree with, like who was that wide receiver we traded? Anthony Miller, and then we cut him, stuff like that. But I think it was going to be a lot of turnover anyways. I don't mind him taking risk on guys like that. So I like what he's done so far.
I like what he's done so far, and I'm excited to see what he can do. In the future with actual money because we're going to be sending away, Deshaun. And then also, I mean, we should talk about. I mean, what about Lermy Tunsil?
I mean,
I've I've been saying that Cincy. I've said this for almost a couple weeks, Cody. That I think the Cincy needs to very look at Laramie Tunzel as a potential guy they should go after because Joe Burrow's legit. That offense is going to be scary. They just need to build a better offensive line.
this is another topic that's been all over Twitter is about trading Laramie Tunsil, and my thought process is, man, he's got 2 years left on deal. On his deal, he's going to be 29, I believe. He's been on losing teams for majority of his career. What are the odds he's re-signing? Like
Yeah,
you can use the franchise tag, but those have backfired before. Like I'm trading him to get something. Obviously, not trading him just for scraps. I would need a first, but I'm trading him just because I don't think he's going to be here long term.
and I think Cincy probably would give you that first, for Laramie Tunsil to get an established left tackle. Uh, I mean, that's
Yeah,
where I think he ends up. I mean, that's a good deal for me. I mean, for both parties, honestly, if I'm being honest.
right. Yeah, like a late first. They probably have to add some more, to be honest, because
Oh, for
I think
sure.
that is going to be a late first. But that's something they can do. There's some other teams out there that a lot of teams can use a left tackle. So I wouldn't narrow it down to just Cincy, but yeah, I'd trade him. I don't have a problem with that.
It's just crazy, man. We thought these guys were gonna be the missing piece. Laramie Tunsil, Deshaun, DeAndre, and now all these guys are not even Houston Texans anymore. It's absolutely crazy, man. I mean, it's almost like we're in a simulation, bro.
Yeah, dude. The last 2 years have been nuts for roster turnover.
Haven't seen anything like this ever, man. Like we were up 24-0 on the champs not too long ago.
Yeah.
So we're in a position now where hopefully we stick with the third overall pick. I think it's gonna like I do think Jacksonville goes Neal number one overall or offensive tackle. Um, Out of the three guys, Thibodeau, Hamilton, and Hutchinson at three, what would you like? What's your best case scenario as I get this mock draft started? Give me 1 second. Yeah, go ahead,
I mean,
Cody.
the best case scenario was probably you get Thibodeau at. Sorry, give me 1 second, man.
No
You
worries,
get
boss.
Thibodeau at 3. I think he's going to be the best player or the best player, prospect in this draft. Out of the second most important position on the field, maybe third, depending on how you look at offensive tackle compared to defensive end. But say the two top edges are gone by the time you hit 3. I'm all in on Hamilton. He's the best safety prospect we've seen in years. And Jamal Adams went 4, but Hamilton's a better prospect than Adams.
Oh, man, the dude's
Um,
6'4".
yeah, and he can play both safety spots. Jamal Adams, his deal is he's a strong safety that's better up on the line. He's not great in coverage. Hamilton is good in coverage. So that's the biggest difference between the two. But like you said, 6'4". Like when was the last time you seen a safety that height, that frame length? One, especially one with that frame that can come down and hit. You have like Grant Delpits, who weren't the best. They were good in coverage, but they weren't the best hitters, stuff like that. So he's the full package, I guess we can call it.
So Justin Reed, do you keep him or do you let him walk?
I mean, I would keep him, but I don't think he's going to want to stay, to be honest. With the whole situation of him getting benched and stuff and him being here for 4 years and, dealing with O'Brien's crap and then now this, I think he's going to want to look to walk somewhere else. And I think someone's going to pay him, and I don't really want to match if that price gets too high.
I absolutely agree. Speaking of people, speaking of suspensions, Kevin Porter Jr., Christian Wood suspended tonight. Those freaking Houston Rockets that we love. I'm getting the mock draft started here. Give me 1 second, Cody. I do apologize, buddy.
Yeah, no worries. I see this one question from Alpha.
What free agents?
What free agents? Yeah, do you think we should go after this year? I haven't looked at the full list of names, but I know
I'm
some
gonna give
people
you
are.
one.
Go ahead.
Let me see. Hold on. I'm sorry. Yeah, just keep on. Let me see.
Oh, okay. So some people are going to want to spend big this free agency. We are still kind of dealing with the cap situation that Bob left next year. It's not as bad as it was this year, but it's still not ideal. I don't think we should go after any huge name free agents like Louis just named J.C. Jackson. He's going to cost a pretty penny. I'm not, I don't mind it, but he's going to cost a lot. And then you can have someone like uh, Dante Jackson, a cornerback from the Panthers, who's going to cost a little bit, but not near as much as J.C. Jackson. And I think you should make moves like that. Younger guys that are going to be here for a longer period of time that aren't going to cost top tier money, So guys like that, you can look at Christian Kirk as a wide receiver if you want to go that route, stuff like that.
Michael Gallup. Oh, he just got hurt. My fault.
Yeah, he tore his ACL.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you one guy, Alpha. James Daniels, the guard from the Chicago Bears. 24 years old. He's allowed 3 sacks all season. I've been watching pretty much the whole season, Cody, because this offensive line needs to get better. And I think someone like James Daniels, who's 24, he could build upon that. I mean, you won't even have to give him a bag because probably not a people know who James Daniels is. He was, drafted in the third round and has played very damn good. So if you could get a potential, right or left guard, I would absolutely love that in free agency. I think Nick Caserio does what he did last year. Sign hella guys and hey, if you play good, then we might extend you. I mean, look at Desmond King, a guy who had no interceptions in 2 years, has three. I mean, like, would you even re-sign Desmond King?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'd definitely do that if he's willing to do that. Probably get him a 2 or 3 year deal this time around.
So how do you feel about Lovey?
Uh, I don't know. I'm like impartial on the whole coaching staff, to be honest, except for Kelly. He's got to go. I don't mind if Levy stays another year. He's good at forcing turnovers. What do we go from 3 turnovers last year to 17? So that's good. But I mean, and it's not all his fault. The talent has been is a problem, obviously. But he's allowed. We allowed a lot of yards, a lot of points scored. And earlier in the season, I don't know if you remember, there was a stat that he was running Tampa 2 like 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And you got to be adjust to shit like that. And hey, I'm gonna answer a question real quick.
Go ahead, buddy. Yeah, yeah. Let's take some time to answer questions as Harley gets off of work. Shout out to my boy. He does want to come and do the mock test.
I think it was Derek Bennett. I don't know how to scroll down in the comments,
Why
but
not pay
he
for talent?
asked, yeah, why not pay for talent? I'm not, my thing is, I'm not saying don't pay for talent. I'm saying we're not ready to win right now, and we won't ready to win, even if we just go out and start paying dudes. Usually, that doesn't work, anyways. But I don't see the point in paying for who's the guard out of Washington.
Brandon Sheriff.
Right, he's 30 years old.
Beast.
You're gonna have to pay him a pretty penny. Like, obviously, we need a guard, but you want to go do that when we're not ready to win now? It doesn't make sense.
And you can have someone like James Daniels, who I mentioned, same position,
Yeah,
playing slightly below, but still very good. And he's going to cost you a fraction of what Brandon Sheriff will cost.
yeah. And then, yeah, exactly. And then someone said Allen Robinson. That's another guy that's going to be 30, and you're going to have to pay a lot of money for. Like, we're not ready to win. I'm not saying don't pay for talent. I'm saying don't go all out this offseason because we are not ready to win yet. Get younger guys who are going to not cost as much as some of those big name guys, and then we can build on from there.
I would go after a running back in the offseason as well if I don't draft one. Shout out to Deontay Foreman, dude out of Galveston, playing so good for the Tennessee Titans, man, after another player who left the Houston Texans and, homeboy's not thriving somewhere else. But no, I do agree with you, man. I think that, but look, if Deshaun Watson's here, you go after Brandon Sheriff over James Daniels, right? Because Deshaun gives you that, like we could contend. But in the situation we are now, like there's no reason to go after high profile guys and dump money when we could get less players. And or multiple players for cheaper deals. I mean, like we would have never found, Crew J Hill or Malik Collins, if or Desmond King, even if we signed someone huge.
Yeah, and like I said, we're still going to be dealing with cap hits that O'Brien left over. So I'm just maybe next season. Well, draft your rookies. Sign maybe a couple free agents, like some we talked about earlier, and then
Mhm.
see what you do next year, and then maybe you can go all in. I'm just not. For me, it makes no sense to pay right now because we're not ready. We're just not
No.
ready.
Oh, I absolutely freaking agree. What do you think we should do with Brandon Cooks? I think we should keep him. The dude's been legit. He himself said he don't want to get traded. He just put two back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Shout out to Brandon Cooks, man.
Yeah, I agree, and Ruben, I was very.
And
It was
I quote, he is one concussion away from retirement.
which
You weren't
thank
wrong.
goodness he hasn't got a concussion because that could still be uh, a thing, but it was a big issue. Like he had like 7 or whatever it was in LA. It might not have been that much, but it was a good number. So I was skeptical on that trading a second, but he's been great for us. He doesn't want to get traded if he's cool with staying here because he's only like 27, I believe. If he's cool with staying here, signing another deal after his current deal's up, um, I'd keep him. He's the one constant that this offense is probably going to have. So I'm down for keeping him.
Hey, man, I mean, no, like, yeah, yeah. I mean, shout out to Brandon Cooks. He's been the guy all season who is making plays. The guy who's been snagging on people should be Nico Collins. Speaking of that, I really hate how we don't test him deep. There's a reason why we drafted him. It was because of his speed and because the dude's freaking 6'4", and
Yeah.
just
See,
sucks.
here's my thing. I think I saw Jordan talking about it on Twitter.
Shout
How
out to
they don't
Jordan.
use it. Yeah, they don't use him deep or in jump balls and stuff. Yeah, I get that to an extent, but my main thing for him coming out of college um, was that's all he did. He ran deep and he did jump balls, back shoulder balls. That's all they used him for. So he did not have a lot of uh, training, I guess we can say, with running the other routes in the route tree. And I wanted to see that, and that's something that Kelly has done. And it hasn't been fantastic, but he's done good enough for, in my opinion, for a guy that needed some development. So I know he can go do that stuff. They know. I think they know he can go do that stuff. I'm glad that they're working him in at these other over the middle corner routes, stuff like that.
And I think one thing that also else that has to be addressed in the freaking off season is what are you gonna do with Titus Howard? Because the dude has been moved more than a freaking hooker. Like he's going everywhere on the offensive line. He's played good wherever we've put him. He just needs to get in his position.
Yeah, you know me. I hate moving offensive linemen around. I can't stand it. I think you need to find guys that are good in their position and leave them there, because then you're just creating holes other places to move these guys. I thought Titus should have been a right tackle from the start of the season. He proved that he was better at tackle than he was at guard. He did pretty good at left tackle. Now, what we do with him, I think, depends on what you do with Larry Tunsil. And if you trade Larry Tunsil, then what are you doing in the draft or at free agency to bring in another tackle? I think he should be one of the tackles. If he's good at both, then great. I mean, if he's good at both, that's freaking fantastic because that's really hard to do. Um, and then, but to me, you got to see what the team does at the tackle position.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. I wouldn't mind, where we put Titus. He's shown that he could be good at certain spots, but he needs to find one, right? If we're gonna try to build the trenches and and shout out to James Catman. I think he's done better, as the season has gone along, and then played the offensive line has been pretty much decent, and then we ran into the 49ers. Um, I think offensive line is something that needs to be heavily invested into next year, maybe the off season or the draft. I mean, there is a lot of people in the draft. So here's one question. Justin Britt, do you bring him back? I say yes. I think he's done a fantastic job. He's cheap and someone that could grow, like the offensive line with.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. He's not your long term option, obviously. Maybe you draft a guy like Tyler Lindenbaum, but it's not going to hurt a guy like Tyler to have a veteran in like that to help him grow into the position. So yeah, I'm cool with that. He would be cheap, so I have no problem with that at all.
So before we get started with the mock draft, where are we sending Deshaun?
Is this for the mock draft? Like, which team are we going to do?
Well, both, right? I mean, we could base the mock draft off of where we think Deshaun ends up.
Sorry, I was reading that Aaron Rodgers
Oh,
comment.
okay. I'm sorry. I don't know why I took that conversation serious.
um, uh, well, oh, I mean, I don't have any clue where he's gonna go. Obviously, he's been stuck on the Miami thing. I think they still are gonna want him. I think the owner wants him bad. So right until I hear differently from other people, like actual people that have sources, I'm just gonna stick with Miami because I don't. We can sit here and say Philadelphia. He didn't want to go there last year. He what was the Panthers? He didn't want to go there last year. I'm gonna stick with Philadelphia. I don't mind like for the mock if we want to do something else. If the chat wants to do something else, I just Miami is my uh, Miami is probably the most logical destination right now.
Oh, I agree. I thought that if Tua keeps on winning, then maybe the conversation kind of swift is make well maybe we don't need to spend all these potential first round picks on Deshaun Watson. But like I said, I do think the owner wants him. I do think he might push it, man, in the offseason. Probably spend all his time in Miami. Um, James from Texas Unfiltered said that they still like would be interested. So the question is like, if that's the case, do you just raise up the price until they just don't budge?
Oh yeah, I mean if he opens his no trade clause to multiple teams, you have them bet against each other until one of them wins. One of them gives you a good enough deal. The one thing I will say is if he does end up going to a team like New York or to Philadelphia, like Philadelphia has 3 first round picks this year. We're not getting all of those picks this year. Um, we're gonna spread those out over a few years. Like we'll get maybe 2 this year, and then another one
That's a
next year,
smart
and then
thing
the
to
year
do.
after that. Because you would it would absolutely suck to have say you get all 3 picks from Philadelphia plus your picks. You have 4 first rounds in this draft, and this draft turns out like the 2015 draft.
Oof.
Yeah, it would just suck. So it's better to spread those things out. That's really my problem. I have like trying to mock a Giants trade or a Philadelphia trade is because they have so many picks. I don't think we get all those picks, and it's just unrealistic.
What would you think about the Giants though? Because we know how last year it was the Jets, right? Well, it wasn't the Jets, but it was said that he wouldn't mind going to the Jets. That as soon as he steps in New York, he's gonna have $200 million worth of endorsements waiting. Well, this ain't the Jets. This is the New York Giants. There's
Yeah,
Saquon there. Like that's a huge market.
and they have some weapons: Kadarius Tony, Sterling Shepard, Kenny
Evan
Galladay.
Ingram.
They have a solid defense as well. It's just that quarterback position's kind of been killing them. So that would be good for him, in my opinion. And that would be good for us because they have a lot of picks and high picks at that. So,
If it is the Eagles, are you taking Jalen Hurts? Because I'm not anymore.
uh, no, I'm not. I'm honestly not taking a quarterback in the trade. I'm just going all picks. There's no reason. I mean, if Mills doesn't work out, you draft a quarterback in the 23 draft. I'm not taking a quarterback in a trade back. Sorry, I blanked out for a second.
Yeah, no, I still think if it is Miami, you try to get Christian Wilkins.
I think Nick Caserio is just looking for picks, to be honest. Unless there's just a player that's you can't say no to. I think he's looking for picks.
But now let's see if this works. Cody, give me 1 second. All right, guys, let me know in the chat if it's working or not. Cody, what do you see at the moment?
It looks good. I don't know if you can make it any bigger though.
Yeah, well, let me go ahead and well, like right now, I just have to. Oh, as far as bigger, let me take this off.
There you go.
Yeah. So we could go ahead and still do Miami. Don't mind it. Let's go ahead and do 3 rounds. Where is Mr. Harley? Shout out to Harley. Something that will probably never happen. Kyle Hamilton goes #1 into the Jacksonville Jaguars. Um,
Damn.
nah, I'm gonna restart this. I
Yeah.
do. Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah. I being realistic, and I kind of want to. I think we took Hutchinson last time, so I do want to kind of switch it up.
Oh yeah, I don't mind that one.
I had a feeling that was going to happen.
All these mock drafts, dude, are just all wrong.
Right now, they're all over the place.
So we got Aiden Hutchinson at 1, Kevon Thibodeau at 2. I mean, that's probably a good chance of happening. What do you go here at 3, Cody? This is kind of your mock draft.
So I said earlier, if you're not trading back, Kyle Hamilton's the pick. He has a case to be the best overall player in the draft. His positional value isn't quite there for a lot of people, though. At 3, he's the best player available. I'm taking him if we're not trading back.
Do you see Nick Caserio trading back?
You know, a lot of people seem to think that because that's what the Patriots said a lot. But I mean, look at last year. He traded up twice, to go get some guys he wanted. And if you get your haul for Watson and you have 2 picks in the first, you can go get extra picks, I guess. But a guy like Hamilton, and you have a pick later in the first. I'm just taking Hamilton if I'm him.
Let's go ahead and take Hamilton. I think the fact that he's 6'4", and I mean he was one of the most hyped kids come high school. Goes into Notre Dame, literally one of the first games, takes one back to the house. Dude's a ball magnet, man. And if you already have a defense that just gets turnovers like what Lovie Smith defense does, imagine adding, a Kyle Hamilton and see what he could do. I mean, remember what Justin Wieters was doing in the first couple games? He damn near had a turnover every single game.
Yeah. So this is kind of fuzzy for me. Okay, there it goes. So who's on the board? Garrett Wilson, Devin Lloyd, Tyler Lindenbaum. Who did we go with last time? Did we go with Lindenbaum last time?
I think we did. Wouldn't mind him. I'm looking at Devin Lloyd. As much as I want to take Garrett Wilson, I do think, wide receiver or someone of skill needs to be taken pretty soon. The Houston Texans need, to get their linebacking core together. And someone like Devin Lloyd is an absolute monster. What do you think?
I really like Devin Lloyd. I think he's the best linebacker prospect in the draft. And that, a lot of people like Nakobe Dean. But Devin Lloyd,
28.
He's a converted wide receiver, actually. So he's still kind of raw, but just absolutely athletic. And he's a guy, that can actually play the Mike linebacker position. I'm not a lot of linebackers can do that sort of stuff, take on blocks, call the defense, stuff like that. Devin Lloyd can do it all. He can cover. He'd be, if we're sticking with the Tampa 2, he'd be able to carry the seam. I really like Devin Lloyd. I could see him going higher than this. I don't have a problem with Garrett Wilson, Devin Lloyd, Tyler Lindenbaum. But I do really like Lloyd.
Yeah, no, I'll take Lloyd too. That's someone that we've been looking at for a while. Let me see. As we go on, man, this draft is going to be interesting, man. We haven't had a first-round pick in a minute.
Yeah. And he could potentially have 2. Like, when was the last time we had that? Have we ever had that? I don't think we have.
No, and then maybe two twos and then two threes.
Okay,
Now this
so
one is a. I mean, I know you've had some words about Sauce Gardner.
okay, is he on the board? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as high on Sauce as the rest of the Twitter Texans Twitter seems to be. At this position, I'll take the chance on him. Um, he to me, he's just not. I don't think he's the best cornerback prospect in this draft. He had a solid game against Alabama. I'll give him that. But they committed to giving both corners help. Because if you look at the game, I mean, the running back for Alabama ran for 200 yards by himself.
Yeah.
So I feel like Cincinnati went into that game deciding we're going to stop one or we're going to try to limit one and then see if the other one can beat us. And that's what they did most of the game. And the running game beat the crap out of them. So there wasn't a whole lot of one-on-ones in that game. I wanted to see that because I wanted to see how he held up against a shorter, quicker receiver. But he did do good. Another guy I like right there is Drake London.
6'5". But do you want two X wide receivers?
See, I think he can play either though, because he could be the best wide receiver in this draft if he didn't get hurt.
Yep.
I think you can have, depending on what you do with Cooks, you could have London or and Nico on the outsides, and you can make it work because they're both pretty fast for big guys like that. So I don't mind taking him there. But what do you think? You want to go with Gardner?
Yeah, I mean, I would go with Gardner because last time we didn't take a corner.
Yeah, I have no problem taking him there in the second if he's there.
Don't think he lasts to the second after having a good
Yeah,
game
yeah.
against Alabama. Jordan Battle is someone I would love.
Yeah, I mean, we already took a safety, so I'm not sure if we take another one in the second. He reminds me of another Justin Reed. He's not
Yeah.
like elite at anything, but kind of good at everything. Maybe a little bit better at tackling than Reed is, even though Reed has shown his ability to tackle. He's just so inconsistent with it.
Let's
But
welcome this young man to the chat. What's going on, Mr. Harley?
Hey, how y'all doing?
damn, about 30
Good.
minutes late, dude.
Yeah, sorry, man. trying to get going here. Sorry, coming out of work.
So we took Kyle Hamilton 3, Devin Lloyd 22, and Sauce Gardner at 37. Defense heavy in this draft. What do you think about that so far, Harley?
That's probably the way to go. I mean, that is pretty much best player available at 3. You can argue Evan Neal, but yeah, the offensive line is something that also needs to be fixed. So in terms of best player available is also need as well because this team needs a lot. So Kyle Hamilton, no problem. Sauce Gardner, no problem. Devin Lloyd, absolute stud. I mean, defense heavy is what we need. This team, just because of what Lovie Smith has done so far, you still need some more extreme amount of youth and talent on the defensive end of the ball.
So at 54, the picks we get from Miami, of course, 39, Malik Willis. Do the Houston Texans need? I mean, if we're gonna have this luxury of having multiple picks in the draft, let's say a Malik Willis or a Carson Strong falls to the Houston Texans, maybe even Kenny Pickett because of that shoulder injury that he had in the bowl game. Could you see the Houston Texans getting a quarterback? Cody.
It's tough. I think they could take one if they like a guy that they didn't expect to be there falls to a certain pick. Like I don't think Malik Willis is here at pick 54.
Yeah.
So they could do that and just make it a competition, and then maybe you don't have to go draft a quarterback next year if, like, say Mills doesn't work out or whatever. You have that backup plan already. I don't think they're going into it looking for a quarterback though. Like I don't think they're forcing a quarterback pick.
Harley, what about you?
I mean, when you look at the board, obviously 54, Malik Willis. Looking at the other quarterbacks, the other teams that picked before, yeah, the Steelers go Carson Strong. But do they not take a Malik Willis? Do they not garner that attention? The Falcons, what are they going to do with Matt Ryan just because they've done better than what my expectations were this year for them? They obviously got to look into the future. Malik Willis, I don't know if he fits so much with the head coach that I'm forgetting his name that was with the Titans last year. But, I don't know if he fits that scheme so much. Maybe he changes it up for him, adapts to it. The Raiders, you don't know what the Raiders are going to do. They're always a question mark at quarterback for some reason. I like Derek Carr. I have no problem with him, but it seems like the Raiders do. I can't see any other team besides outside of the Falcons because of the comment. But, Malik Willis at 54 for the Texans. I'm not too high on it. I don't mind taking a quarterback, but looking at everyone else that's on the board currently, you looking at Kenneth Walker, John Mechie. If I'm looking at this right, Isaiah Spiller. Who else? I can barely see his name. The two edge guys, one from Kentucky, one from Notre Dame, solid players that I'm leaning towards taking over Malik Willis. I love the potential he has, dependent on who the offensive coordinator is. If it's Pat Hamilton, they want to add more competition to Davis Mills, which I'm all aboard for. Up to the Texans, really, but I'm not going crazy for it. John Mechie there just makes me giddy at 54.
What do you think, Cody? Here at 54,
pretending Malik Willis isn't here. I think it's either between Kenneth Walker and John Mechie. Y'all know how I feel about running backs. I don't mind taking a running back here, but I feel like you can find probably a running back later. The one problem with Mechie is obviously he tore his ACL. And he's probably not going to be ready to go to start the season. But again, we're not trying to win right away, so I have no problem with that. You can play him inside, outside. He might be your eventual replacement for Brandon Cooks, depending on what you want to do with him. Either one of those guys, I'm down for going with pretending Willis isn't here.
So this is one I think we should leave up to the chat because I think Kenneth Walker is someone I would love for the Houston Texans to get. A dude who is as shifty as they freaking come. Is a better version of Rex Burkhead. They pretty much do the same thing. Could catch out the backfield, could make people miss. I wouldn't mind Kenneth Walker, but what does the family say?
Yeah, I don't mind Walker either. He's, it's funny. He's probably more of a running back that the last Kelly and O'Brien needed to run their system than what we've had. And then we get rid of both of them, and then we finally get that running back. But
then you got someone like Spiller, who's 6 feet. Dude is just a freaking tank. Runs through everyone.
Yeah, and then you have Breece Hall that could be there in the third, stuff like that. So, Brian Robinson from Alabama. Like you're gonna have some guys there, and it's just the position's a dime a dozen. Who'd you end up? You took Kenneth, okay?
Yeah.
I'd go Isaiah Spiller because he has the same birthday as me. There we go.
So at 68, where are we going here?
Did you just scroll down? Are you back at the top?
I'm back at the top. You want me to scroll down?
No. I wasn't sure what was going on. Kyron Williams is another guy. So.
Barely see this.
Yeah, scroll down a little bit.
We took Devin Lord, but I like Henry too as well from Alabama.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, he's kind of slow in my opinion, and speed kills in the NFL. Nick Bonito is a guy that I think could fit well at that wide 9 tech or the weak side defensive end. Brandon Smith, I like. I think we took him last draft.
If you want to talk about tight ends, Jeremy Ruckett from Ohio State is a damn good one.
Yeah, I'm not going tight ends.
I'm not going back to back on tight ends here.
Wan'Dale Robinson. Well, we didn't take Mechie, so Wan'Dale Robinson is a guy that I like a lot. He'd be a slot receiver, a speedy.
Did he just go off like last game?
Like 180 yards.
Yes.
Or whatever it was for against who did they play? They played Iowa. They played Iowa, who has a pretty good, solid secondary. So he's a guy. He's not your Tyreek Hill, Kadarius Toney type like twitchy. He's not
Brandon
gonna.
Cooks.
Yeah, he's fast and he's got straight line speed and he can create separation. But he can run with run after the catch, but he's not gonna juke out a bunch of guys to get to that point. He's just gonna take off and run. So I like him, Nick Benito, Brandon Smith. What do you guys think?
Well, we could get him later because we do have a pick at 75 thanks to the Saints.
Yeah, them losing has been great. By the way,
what do you think, Harley? We haven't addressed the offensive line at all.
See, I can barely see some of this. See, I don't know too much about Jamari Salyer. I don't know too much about him. I'll be honest. Wandale Robinson, like you were saying, Cody, hey, the guy has no less than 5 catches a game. Like in Tennessee, he had 13 catches and like a $130, I believe, and something like that. So
he was good at Nebraska too, from what I've seen.
Yes, he's performed extremely well against the small competition and very well against really good competition. He's performed up to the competition. Like I said, no lower than 5 catches, I believe, in a single game. And we're talking heavy yak, just a guy that could really fit well for the Texans. And Davis Mills, he thrives in a vertical offense. Why not help him out a little bit and add some youth to the wide receiving core besides Nico Collins, Brevin Jordan at tight end? Who else do you got that's really young that has that potential to be somebody?
Yeah, no. So since you guys are hyping this dude up, we can go ahead and and freaking take him. I think he complements, the Texans wide receiving core good, right? You have someone who's 6'4" who could go up and get it in Nico Collins when they decide to use this kid. And then you add in someone who's basically, like I said, he plays like Brandon Cooks. He's not gonna make people miss, but what he's gonna do is he's gonna kill you with the speed and he's gonna always catch the freaking ball.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, dude, we've been looking for a slot wide receiver since like
For a
Kevin
very
Booker.
long time.
Like
Randall Cobb.
Oh, don't even get me started. But and guys, one that's been like that has like speed like that, we have never had, I don't believe, or at least one that was good, So what are we looking at here?
I'm looking at Kyle Gordon. I do like the way he's been playing this year. But we took Sauce Gardner. Don't want to take a corner here because, like we said, Tavier Thomas has been playing damn good. Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame, the edge. You can never have too many edge guys. We haven't addressed the defensive line at all in this draft, but that's okay because the defensive line has been playing much better. In reality, we might end up with Thibodeau or Hutchinson. Which one would you guys rather have?
Of the two?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Thibodeau. I think he has a higher ceiling. Not that I don't like Hutchinson. I just think a lot of people will compare Thibodeau to like a Clowney, but I don't think he's that dude at all. Clowney didn't want to work. I don't see that issue with Thibodeau. So I think Thibodeau has the higher ceiling. Hutchinson has the higher floor. I wouldn't be mad at either, but Thibodeau would be my pick.
Splitting hairs. I mean, at the end of the day, flip a coin, and I'm happy with either or. Thibodeau seems to have that raw potential that could develop into, and I'm not saying Hutchinson doesn't end up being that guy either, but Hutchinson's really good against the run, really good against the pass as well, as like his counterpart, Ojagbe, who's the other defensive end who Georgia didn't even have to worry about in the run game because he's not a really good run stopper. As to Hutchinson, they had to chip him. They had to do a lot. Like, people are like, oh, well, he was quiet at Georgia. Well, Georgia had a very great game plan to stop Hutchinson and not so much Ojagbe. You just got to worry about him in the passing game. So I don't mind Hutchinson. I don't mind Thibodeau. Again, flip a coin and I'm happy.
Whoa.
That's my fault, boys. So where we? Yeah.
Hey, scroll down.
Right.
There was another name I wanted to look at. I saw him earlier. It wasn't too far. No, that's not it. Tyler Smith out of Tulsa.
Mm.
We
The
talked about
guard.
offensive line. I've heard a lot about him recently. He actually plays tackle for them, but I think it's a situation where he's just the best offensive lineman they had, and they needed someone at left tackle, so they put him
Well, what
there.
happened is the left tackle got hurt in the beginning of the season, and
Okay,
then
okay, so yeah,
yeah,
but
so
he's gonna be an interior offensive lineman at the next level, and I've just seems like a mauler, someone we could use on that interior. I know he didn't play the best competition, but he did play like Oklahoma State, and who's the edge out of Oklahoma State? The white guy.
Racist.
uh,
Oh, I'm blanking on his name, but he had a good game against him, so I do like him there at that pick as well.
I mean, I think we kind of have to address the offensive line because we haven't at all, and who knows the approach of what Nick Caserio is going to do in free agency. I think this is probably one of the better drafts that we've done in terms of like best players and skill position. Um, how do you think if we ended up going the first, three picks defense and the last two offenses?
Last three.
Yeah, last three was Kenneth Walker, Wandell, and Tyler Smith. The first three was Hamilton, Lloyd, and Gardner.
Yeah, that's how it falls. Great. I don't I'll say all offseason, best player available. I don't care about need. And I think everything's just about a need on this team. So I'm fine with if that's how it goes. There could be some other routes, like you could take Evan Neal at
Hmm.
3, and then the rest of the draft shifts for you. Um, I'm cool with going that route though.
Yeah, I'm
And
fine
at
with
pick
that. It all
100.
depends on how the board is. The way this board talks. I mean, if it says, "Hey, that's threaten the next three best guys are all offensive players," then sure, yeah, let's go for it. I mean, this team, like Cody said, this team needs everything. So any type of youth on this team is valuable right now. You don't have a lot of youth.
I think if this guy, Brandon Smith, falls to 100, I think the Houston Texans need to go ahead and take a jump on him. I think he's probably, one of the smartest linebackers in college. Like I said, he goes to Penn State. Cody, what do you think about Brandon Smith? Because we did take him last time, and we were both very high on him.
Yeah, he was projected higher at the beginning of the season, kind of had a down season, but his athleticism and
Is
taking a chance
unquestionable.
with third. He's gonna be he'll be the Sam or the Will, probably the Will, the backside linebacker, but he's quick enough to cover. He's needs to work on taking on blocks and getting dirty. I guess we can call it in the run game, but uh, another guy that's raw at the linebacker position. I'm down for that pick there. I don't mind taking two linebackers.
What do you think, Mr. Harley Dugan?
All I know from 6'3", 240 in 5 pass deflections this year for Penn State. So obviously he has a knack of getting into the coverage. He looks well. He looks okay. He looks very athletic. But I need someone that can help me in the run game as well. The defensive line, as much as it's helpful, uh, I love my linebackers. Usually, that's the strength of a 4-3 Tampa 2 defense is its linebackers. Not saying Brandon Smith can't improve, but I'd like to see guys. Obviously, the new wave is coverage heavy, speed kills, all for it. But if he can improve in his run stopping capabilities, then yeah, I'm down for that.
The good thing, about Tampa 2 is playing that will linebacker position. You don't have to take on a lot of blocks, but you have to be a damn sure tackler.
Yes.
So, that would be his biggest thing.
Speaking of linebackers from Penn State, Cody, we talked about Micah Parsons, how good this dude has been. Shout out to Micah Parsons. We talked about him a lot in the draft last year. But really, if we ended up with Hamilton, Lloyd, Gardner, Walker, Robinson, Smith, and Smith, Nick Caserio says this is what our draft was. Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, sure. I'm down with whatever Nick Caserio has for plans. I think he's proven with handcuffs that the draft that he pulled out is pretty much a really good B plus kind of draft at the end of the day. And this draft, no handcuffs. He's got his left and his right hand, and he gives me a safety that can do it all, whether it's nickel corner, whether it's linebacker, whether it's deep safety, scary. Ahmad Gardner, who I mean, can you even pass on the guy? Yes, his running, stopping, his tackling, that's a little suspect as for a cornerback, especially 4-3 Tampa 2. But hey, I'm down for anybody that could shut down in one side of the field that has the potential to do that. So, yeah, Devin Lloyd, just an absolute unit of a
You'll keep on
linebacker
going,
for
please.
Utah, did very well against Ohio State in some instances. But again, if you give me that draft, hey, I'm a happy camper, man. I'm looking at 90, 91, a grade level for that. I'm happy.
For sure. You have any guys that you like later in the draft? Say if we did like a four round, fifth round. Do you have any guys that you know of right now that you like kind of in that range?
You know, the bias is about to come out of me because I love Marcus Jones. I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of Marcus Jones. And I know we have Tavier Thomas, who's strictly a nickel corner. I don't think Tavier Thomas can go to an outside corner. I don't think so. But Marcus Jones is strictly a nickel corner who's performed extremely well. And at his size 5'9", it's going to be tough for him to sniff maybe the third round. That's where I would have him at, but I think he falls to the fourth round. His special team playmaking ability is just next level. I mean, kick returner, punt returner, he is scary back there. You have to take account for him. So that's another reason where I'm definitely leaning Marcus Jones, but having Tavier Thomas kind of plugs that up a little bit. But yeah, the bias is coming out of me for the Cougar.
So I haven't watched him. I know about his returning prowess, I guess we can call it. I did read that he was more of a man corner, though. Do you think that would be a problem if he say he was to come here and play his predominantly
Yeah,
zone? You think it would be? You don't think he's
yeah,
built for
it
that, or
would. They played predominantly man. The defensive coordinator for U of H has been with Nick Saban from Alabama. So that defensive coordinator, it's not going to happen this year, but next year or in a few years, people are going to start peeking at his name because he got a lot of limelight even from ESPN with when Houston was on national television. Everyone kept looking at this defense coordinator. He plays similar defense just like Alabama. What does Alabama do? They play a lot of man, a lot of this is your guy, this is it, that's it. Win your battle. And Alabama obviously is going to win their battle because they have the biggest and strongest players. And so that's just how it is. I don't see him as a zone guy. That's going to be a huge adjustment to him just because UH didn't play a lot of zone. It was predominantly man to man, press coverage, and he shined in it. Not saying he can't play zone, but that's going to be a huge learning adjustment for him.
gotcha? Guy I've been looking at is if we decide to take a tackle at some point in this draft, Dare Rosenthal out of Kentucky.
Okay.
He transferred from LSU last
Okay.
year. Was starting left tackle, transferred to Kentucky. The reason I know about him really is because he almost came to Baylor because
Mhm.
that's Aranda and they had that connection and everything like that. The reason the dude had to transfer from LSU and the reason he's probably not higher in the draft, in my opinion, is because he had a weed problem. He was kind of addicted. He couldn't get off of it. Kept getting in trouble at LSU for it.
Mhm.
But the dude's a damn good left tackle. He has the size, the speed. Went over to Kentucky, who Kentucky already had a good left tackle, and he came and overtook his job, and they moved that left tackle to another position. So he's a guy that, if like the fourth round is what they're projecting, he could be a solid pickup later in the draft.
Thank you guys so much for taking care of that for me. But yes, we were live, Mr. Paul. We're gonna try to um, do this again in like a couple weeks with Cody and Harley. But thank you so guys. I'm sorry. Thank you so much, guys, for joining on and talking football with me.
Yeah, man, appreciate you having us
No
on.
problem.
It's been a long time.
A long time. We're gonna go ahead and keep up. So All right, guys. Shout out to y'all. I love you guys so much. You guys have a very blessed day.